I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum!
Astro Radio Z is a horror, cult, exploitation film podcast by filmmakers, critics, musicians, journalists, and fans for the film obsessed. Here is your host, Derrick.
Welcome to another episode of Astro Radio Z. We're back to talk about some Andy Milligan again here on the show. Tonight we're going to be talking about 1970s The Body Beneath and 1973's Blood. Tonight's a vampire, Dracula, Wolfman episode of Andy Milligan. We're still stuck in the talky period piece monster drama era of Andy Milligan. And Evan, what do you think of the talky period piece monster drama era of Andy Milligan?
He's getting good. This is he turned a corner. I'm proud of him.
Okay, awesome. What does that mean you're proud of him?
He looks like he's starting to care about stuff. I was struck just by some of the quality of the camera work and stuff in these. I mean, I just noticed that it looked like a real movie. The editing and everything.
Costumes, yeah. Didn't look like he made them on
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Is better. He's still sticking to these, universal monsters, but it looks like he cares about what he's doing now, I think.
What do you think about that, Vaughn?
I'm with them. These are top 5 for me right now. Yeah.
Well, listeners, if this is your first episode with us for Andy Milligan, let's give you a quick primer. Yeah, you're jumping into the deep end already, but if you're not familiar with who Andy Milligan was, he was a director that made films through the 60s to the 90s. He was an American playwright, screenwriter, actor, filmmaker who made about 27 films. Most of them have gone lost. Some of them have become cult favorites for some unknown reason because they all look like they were made on 10 cents. But he mostly made, or at least what he was known for, were horror movies, real cheapy 16 millimeter, under $10,000 cheapy horror period piece movies where there's tons of incest, there's family squabbles, somebody inevitably turns into a monster, and there's a lot of talking that happens and not much goes on. But in his real life, he had a horrible life. His family life was awful with his mom. He was an out gay director at a time that was really frowned upon. He was a tyrant to sit and work with. Most of the people that look back at the time that they worked with him don't have very fond things to say about him. And after a while, he contracted AIDS and died in abject poverty in 1991. And they just basically dug a grave, kicked him in there, and didn't even mark it. So we don't even know where he's buried in LA. He's there somewhere.
Wow, that was really just the most politest thing you've ever said about the man. Wow. It's like the nicest thing you've ever said.
Well, unfortunately, he didn't live a very good life.
But he gave us a shining legacy.
A shining legacy of a bunch of movies that are great to sleep to. Fortunately for tonight, we're going to actually talk about a couple of his better movies. I'm actually quite happy that this week we are no longer talking about any of the horse crap that we talked about last episode, where we were talking about his remake of Sweeney Todd and a movie that shall not be named for the rest of my podcast, at least by me. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about the first of 2 Dracula movies that Andy Milligan did on the podcast tonight with 1970s The Body Beneath. So stick around.
You are listening to Astro Radio Z.
Come in, damn it. You're sure a punctual bastard.
Hey there, smut lovers. Balls deep in a dirty little addiction to movies where werewolves kidnap and rape women for Dracula? Or perhaps you're a kinky pink freak who loves to watch mad men and women tie up and punish unsuspecting suckers, pouring hot wax on their aching naked flesh and driving them around the living room like pretty little ponies? Wait, I know. You love nothing more than a sweet topless self-flagellation session before the cross following oral indiscretions with a saucy satanic sister, you secret nunsploitation fan. We cordially invite your sinful self to join our shameless selves for the podcast at Orgy Castle. Exercise all that salty deviance from your system with hosts Paula and Derrick as they pick one smutty film a week to indulge in and discuss. The podcast at Orgy Castle is on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and anywhere you can find podcasts. Go, subscribe, come as many times as you want. Nobody will know but you and your headphones.
Body beneath, filmed in the graveyards of England, a tale of terror, of vampires, of cannibalistic desires, of unending blood feasts. Late 20s. Delicious. The body beneath. Shock after shock. He called himself Reverend. His church was lost to souls. His congregation, the body beneath, buried for centuries in Highgate Cemetery, each night to rise again to satisfy their bloodlust. Good day. Cigarette. Bizarre rites of a cult of ghouls, so terrifying as to stagger the imagination. Blood was their daily bread, and they stopped at nothing to obtain it. No one is safe from their mutilation and terror, from their unending quest for blood. Sons and daughters by you. He chose the young girl, Susan, to be the mother of his heirs. Decadence. Torture. Each night their young victims must procreate a future. A bloodline of children to be devoured by the body beneath.
Welcome back. Here we are to talk about Andy Milligan's Dracula with inbreeding movie, The Body Beneath. It's a slight retelling of Dracula, and Milligan just takes references from the original story and does what he wants with them, and he changes just enough of it to call it his own. Now, the plot of The Body Beneath is a family of vampires take over an estate known as Carfax Abbey. Sound familiar? Since inbreeding is destroying the family line, they need new blood to keep the family going. So they set out to find new sources. Now, Vaughn.
Yes.
Going into this movie, it is incredibly apparent that there's more money being tossed at this picture. There's dolly shots. The thing looks amazing. It sounds like an actual movie, other than the one shot in the beginning where they open the door and it sounds like the microphone's 3 rooms away. But the rest of the movie's actually professionally made. Walking into this compared to the movies last week, this is a tremendous step up, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, this is the one film that introduced me when I was like, I got that whole pile of stuff and I was like, oh, I'll put the first film out. This was the first one I watched. And I was like, wow, this is great. And it kind of ebbed and flowed with his, his filmography, because the films before this, there are some good ones in there. And then after this, it gets better. But then as he gets older and, near the 90s, it starts to go to shit again. But I really like this. What is it? Gavin Reed, who plays the Reverend, I think is probably just like, he's a powerhouse in that whole fucking film.
Reverend Algernon.
He could have written pure shit, like just gobbledygook crap. And this guy reciting it, it was like, oh, okay, I'm in. Because he actually has the conviction and everything of an actual actor, unlike the many people who he's just picking them off the streets in the other films.
I do think that he's not able to convey, a powerful patriarch of the family, though. He's kind of a whiny bitch.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, he is supposed to be the Dracula character. This Reverend is supposed to be the head vampire with vampire brides that are basically just women in the bluest of blue cake makeup.
Yeah, that's awesome. When they pop up out of nowhere, it's like, whoa, okay, I forgot this for a second. And they start annoying people. They don't even attack anybody. They just kind of like huddle in rooms and corners.
And they say hello.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, hello. Like, okay, what the fuck? Are you going to do something? No, I'm just going to stand here. It's like, okay.
Sometimes they just tell you something in your ear. They just whisper something in your ear. And then for some reason causes you to go into a trance or something like that.
The rules are never established in this movie for the vampirism whatsoever. And I mean, going back to Gavin Reed, I have to be honest, it's kind of like having Kip from Napoleon Dynamite be a vampire. Because he doesn't really do much of anything, and he walks around and he's very kind of soft-spoken about everything. And the majority of this movie, again, is a bunch of people just sitting around talking in a house doing not much of anything. The plot is pretty interesting. It concerns this couple that are being sought out by the Reverend. Reverend, they have to have this ritual once every, how many years was it?
I'm just going to guess it's 100.
Every 100 years. They live by the cemetery and they all come back to life and they all have to feast for this ritual so they can continue on. And they find one of their descendants and they want to use her as a baby machine. Because they've inbred so much in their family that all of their vampire line are starting to degenerate, which makes sense for the brides, the blue cake makeup brides, kind of like the product of this.
Yeah, but like that's why he's doing blood transfusions, because of the whole thing, because he really can't feed. I like the whole concept of that. And then you have like, what's his name, Berwick Keller. Right? Who played Spool, who played our infamous Quasimodo, who pops up in a bunch of films. He was in, The Rats Are Coming. He was in Nightbirds. He's in this. I think he's in Bloodthirsty Butchers. He plays one of the jerk-offs in that movie. And he plays a great Quasimodo. He's probably one of the best ones he's had, because you clearly can see that he's just a guy with a jacket with a cushion on his back. Yeah. He's trying to make it look like he's humping over, but his character's kind of running around trying to save people, and they're trying to save the one girl that they're using as their baby machine. And it looks like the same house that he's used for The Rats Are Coming. There's some scenes in the middle too when they're outside in the back, when people are coming into the house, you can clearly state that it looks like, oh, it's the same kind of pillars in the backyard. Oh, it might be the same fucking place. Okay, that makes sense. But I don't know. I like the fact that, yes, the story is completely incoherent, like all these stories. But I think that the conviction of the actors in the film this time, compared to a lot of them, where you can clearly state that they were either one-time actors or, they had no right being actors. And this one, they all give their all to like the crap that he's giving them every day. You know, and this feels like he actually had a screenplay written before he handed it to actors, and he wasn't writing it on, you know, cocktail napkins the night before. And it's just, I think it's just fun. I think everybody understands that they're making a campy film and they're just enjoying it, you know?
It's helped out tremendously by the camera work, and it's obvious there was some money actually put into this one.
Yeah, definitely.
Even just the beginning of the film, it reminded me a lot of kind of like the Jean Rollin vampire films. It was really dreamy in the women that are, you know, follow this woman in the cemetery. It sets it up really well. It's actually atmospheric. And then it goes to this sex scene with our lead, with Jackie Scarvelis, who was from The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Here, is our lead again. And her fiance. This sex scene is probably the most extravagant sequence I've ever seen in a Milligan movie whatsoever.
Absolutely.
Until the fiance, like, pretty much, you know, body slams her into the floor.
Yes.
And then rolls around with her.
That scene where he's on the floor and he wrenches his head backwards to point towards the camera, to speak right into the camera.
Yeah.
That was a decision. Like, that is not a natural pose.
No.
But it goes to show you that he was actually thinking of some sort of artistic flair with what he was shooting in this film, as opposed to The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Here, which is just, let's set up a camera and have people talk in front of it. And that's it.
Yeah, it feels like he had the time. You know, maybe he made this first before he made Rats Are Coming. You know what I mean? Because it's all in the same place. So he's like, oh, I like this place. I'll shoot this film next weekend, and we'll do this one the weekend after. I actually have a script I wrote months ago that we actually can do.
So that was the question I had. Was this one of the ones that he made? You guys had mentioned that he made a few while they were in London, or something. And so to have the disparity between the quality of the ones that we watched before, the Sweeney Todd one and this one, it's like he definitely spent all the effort on this one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's like what is it? Nightbirds is also part of this whole kind of time period. And that film, you can definitely tell that he gave a shit about it. And it's a very small cast. It's only two actors. But you can definitely tell that he probably had two films that he really wanted to do, that he really felt kind of, honestly, I can get these done. And that was this film and Nightbirds. And the other ones were kind of like, okay, I have like another week before they kick me out of the state. I'm going to make this movie real quick.
Right.
And that's what feels like. Stuff like Rats Are Coming feels like he actually has a little bit more time, but Bloodthirsty Butchers feels like it's like slapdash. Like, all right, I have 2 weekends open. You guys want to do something? Okay, let's do this movie real quick.
Mm-hmm. You know? And this one, I mean, that sex sequence, there's actual continuity camera changes, something that's not in any of these movies whatsoever. There's a dolly shot, a long dolly shot. When I saw that thing, my jaw dropped to the floor. I'm like, who the fuck set up a dolly for Andy Milligan? It sure wasn't him. He doesn't give a fuck about this. So right off the bat, if your big problem with Andy Milligan was that, you know, he typically just sets up a camera, sets up one light, and just has people walk in front of the camera right and directly in like center frame blocked and talk, this movie kind of throws that out. It's actually a well-shot film. So that's immediately a thumbs up for me. Now, the story itself, while it has moments of it that are very interesting, like the setup of it, this is, again, another one of those movies where it's front end heavy and back end heavy, and the middle of it just kind of meanders around. It reminded me a lot of the Ghastly ones.
But the thing I like with this whole thing is, unlike the Ghastly ones, is that I feel like I said, the actors know what movie they're making. You know what I mean? They've all met with this guy before. They know what he's up to. And they're like, fuck it, let's just play with it. Let's just have fun. And they seem to be enjoying themselves actually making it, unlike some of the other films that we watched, where the actors and actresses don't seem like they particularly want to be there half the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The guy that played Paul was great.
Yeah. Especially when he gets like kicked, when he's like, well, like he goes there to investigate his fiance's disappearance because he knows that's where she was going. And he's like, no, she's not here. And then all of a sudden he drags him into the fucking place. Like, it's like, okay.
And he gets tied up, and he has to, that great sequence where he has to break the glass and cut his hands free.
Yeah. He's the smartest one out of everybody.
That was pretty cool. Like, I would not expect that from Andy Milligan up till now.
Honestly, what I couldn't get over with this was how he just decided piecemeal to I'm just going to lift so much of Dracula off into this film. Evan, when you watch this, the direct correlation with Dracula, what did you think of his version of Bram Stoker's Dracula? Or even, I would say this is more like he saw Todd Browning's Dracula and decided to I'm just going to rip off a bunch of shit from it.
Yeah, it's just sort of that tone. Just some of those elements are in there. But like you said, the rules are all gone. And there's things that are unexplained. Like, why can't his wife speak?
Yeah. Yeah.
He has to interpret what his wife whispers in his ear all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
We find out that vampires drink V8.
They don't. Yeah, they have the infamous line from Todd Browning's Dracula: "We never drink wine." No, they drink tomato juice.
Tomato juice. Yeah. For the most part, this movie fits together. Other than some of those weird little elements that are unexplained, the story seems to make sense in some respects. Now, the story is that this family has been here. The Fords from ancient Rome, they've been there for 2,100 years. Okay. And then we're meeting them on the eve of this every 100 years celebration or whatever under the cemetery. And he basically says, we got to leave in 2 hours. So pack up quick. I don't understand why, first of all. I mean, he tried to work something into it, a bit of commentary, because basically what he was saying is that we can't live here in London anymore because it's a police state. But America, you can just stay up all night, and I think he's basically commenting on 42nd Street.
Well, there is that whole sequence at the end when there's the big feast of the vampires. The climax of this movie, after all this bickering and talking and arguing about, we have to impregnate Susan, who is, the baby machine, so they can have a new thing. She gets tossed out the window, and Gavin has to literally convince all the rest of the vampires. This is the climax. This is the epic climax of the movie. Convinced they sit and bicker about leaving to go and move to America.
Yeah.
And there's one of the vampires gets up and literally says, "Go to America? Never. What is America? What is it made of? Pimps, prostitutes, and religious fanatics thrown out of England, but a few short centuries ago. They are the scum of the earth."
Yes. Yes. But you're right. They throw out their original plan. What got screwed up that they couldn't, go on with the baby making program? But for the most part, the movie fits together. I mean, there's only one superfluous thing, which is Spool's history, his sad, sad history. And I think that's just to get us to feel sorry for him.
I think it's to pad out time. There are multiple sequences in the movies tonight. There is always some side plot that's a random dude that's introduced halfway through the movie that ultimately just gets killed off. And it's just there to pad out a good 10 minutes of the movie. And I think Spool is that character.
Yeah, I didn't, but he's in there for a lot longer than 10 minutes of the movie. He gets brought in, he gets introduced, and you're like, oh, Quasimodo, great, okay, click. If you're doing a drinking game, take a big fucking drink, because it's just the one remnants of everything. And he gets brought in there, and he tries to help people out and stuff like that. Yes, he gets ultimately left. I don't mind the Quasimodo in this film. For once, usually I find it really kind of hard to sit there and watch because he's definitely there's always usually the comic relief. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's oh, we actually have a decent actor playing this character. Okay,
that's what's weird about it when he's telling his sad story.
Yeah,
he seems like he can speak. He seems like a normal person that just got beaten. But then, as soon as that scene's over, then he's like,
yeah, I know, it's great.
Where does that come from?
It's great.
Where does that kick in?
It's definitely a lighter movie than some of the other movies we've watched. It's pretty breezy, even it's almost an hour and a half long. Yeah. It flies by pretty quickly.
One is the longest, usually, because usually they only go up between an hour, maybe 85 minutes. So almost at 90 minutes is probably the longest film.
I think that's The Rats Are Coming is probably the longest of this period.
Oh, okay.
It's roughly, this is roughly around the same time, but it doesn't feel as long as The Rats Are Coming.
Oh, for you, it doesn't feel as long.
Well, because, like I explained last episode, it actually uses the language of cinema. It actually has something visually interesting going on in it.
Right.
So this is a far more enjoyable film. Now, the film, the climax, which happens in the last 10 minutes of the movie, as we said, is this big feast with a bunch more blue cake makeup people and a lens baby effect on it. So it obscures most of what you're seeing to just a pinpoint in the middle of the frame. So you can't really tell what's going on half of the time. And they're just bickering about whether or not they're going to leave London and go to America. They fight with torches suddenly outside, and you can't tell a single goddamn thing that happens. They decide they're going to kill Susan and Paul.
Yep.
They fight with torches, and we cut to a scene where Susan's dead in the foyer of this house with Paul. She wakes up, bites him. He comes back to life.
Yep.
And I guess the vampires left them there, and they now owned this house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like the whole end just like completely is rushed through. It doesn't make any sense. What did you think of the end of this, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really clear what, like you said, what happens the night before. I just assume they got on that boat. They chartered a boat for America. They're gone. And then there's this stinger at the end. We now own all of this. Yes. And then that's it. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, she pulls the pencil, the number 2 pencil that was stuck in her chest. And she's back to life. At the end of this, Vaughn, The Body Beneath. This is one of your top movies of Milligan?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's definitely in the top 5. Because I don't know. I like I said, it's the acting. The film's actually shot well. And I'm actually rewatching the last like 10 minutes of the film just to kind of remind me how weird it is. But I like that whole kind of weird, kind of like the costumes definitely change at this point. They definitely look like, oh, I'm going to make these right now. Well, give me a sewing machine. I'll just put this together, whatever crap we have around. Because the Reverend's costume looks like they took a rug from the floor and just cut it into his hat. You know,
it almost looks like something from Guru the Mad Monk.
Yeah, but I like the fact that like it's like a guy throwing a screaming fire in a loaded building. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, we got to get out of here fast. So let's just get done with this.
I did like the music.
The music actually works for this film.
It's a little understated. It's not as in your face as the rest of the stuff.
It doesn't feel out of place. Like he's got people on fire and he's playing like Roompa music. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? With this film, it feels like, all right, you know, all the music actually works in where it's placed. And yeah, the fact that she like comes back to life, she pulls a nail out of her chest. And it's just like, oh, okay. So I guess we own this place now. All right, cool.
Yeah. Like, I guess we're ending this movie now.
And they deliberately,
that's what it felt like to me.
With her, they deliberately have her pull her hair away to show the marks on her neck, which I think is pretty ingenious. It's like, oh, because if you don't understand that she's a vampire by now, there's 2 big fucking puncture holes in her neck.
Well, that's one of the things in the movie itself is that none of the vampires have pointed teeth, the traditional pointed teeth. That's one of the many breaks from the lore that this movie does, along with the fact that all these vampires can go out in sunlight. It may tap them of their energy, but they're still allowed to go out in sunlight.
It depletes them, but doesn't. But the other thing, we'll know in the next film, werewolves don't do the same thing they're supposed to do either, but we'll get there. We've already talked about that, but yeah.
What'd you guys think of the leeching scene?
That was an interesting sequence. What do you think of it?
So Reverend Algernon, you know, he's trying to get things going, run this big move, and yeah, he has to go out in the light once in a while, and it pumps him up. I don't know. He's got high blood pressure, so he's got all of his servants placing these things that look like wet Band-Aids on him. And he's just like, add more leeches. The blood pressure is too high still.
Half the movie, the Reverend literally is just laying in a bed.
Yeah,
and transfusions
with no shirt on. But it's not like he's not a buff guy with no shirt on.
No, like I said, he's like Kip from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, Milligan tries to make him look tough. You know, like Susan. She's like, I'm getting out of here. And he just like grabs her wrist and she's like, oh, and it just collapses under his hand grab.
The one thing I like, but what Gavin Reed does pull off with the film, even though, yes, he's kind of a doughy individual, he does pull off this kind of strong, a matriarch of the family. You know what I mean? He's the only one.
Matriarch's a good word.
Yeah. He seems to be the only one in the family who's willing to do anything to kind of help the family along. Even if that means he has to go out in the world and go and retrieve things. Everybody else seems to be locked in the house, and that's either because of his own design, because he's like, all right, you can't leave, or they don't feel like they just don't leave the house.
Except for the brides.
Well, they kind of roam around the whole like countryside that's in around that home.
Right. They felt more
area.
spectral than they felt like corporal beings. Like
Yeah.
they didn't seem like they were real whatsoever. They were more spirits.
What are they supposed to be?
Dead.
Vampire ghosts? I don't know. Like just put blue paint on them, put them on dresses, get them out of here. I don't care.
Well, that's another big thing in this movie. There's really no special effects in this movie whatsoever. There's very little gore at all.
No, was there a hand decapitation in this?
Nope, I don't believe so. I know in Blood we have a double hand decapitation.
Where, if I remember correctly, when the maid lets in Paul, to find his fiance. Mm-hmm. When they find out that she was the one who let him in, they stab her in the eyes with knitting needles, and they drag her body, and Spool drags the body off with the knitting needles. It looks like cotton balls where her eyes are supposed to be, but there's two big needles sticking out of her eyes. So that's a new way of death for him. Usually it's just, all right, I'm going to cut off your hand, and a Quasimodo is going to fuck your face. All right, let's go.
This comes up more in the next one, but just as a preview, there's something that Andy doesn't know how to do.
What's that?
That's maybe an understatement. But when he has any kind of technical edit that he needs to make to show some kind of action. So when Paul is in the foyer or whatever, and the Reverend comes up to move the candle, and he notices in the mirrored surface of his cigarette box that there's no reflection.
Yeah.
The editing of that sequence is so clunky.
It's fucking horrible.
It's hard to even know what just happened. It's like too quick or something like that. And I noticed that like 3 or 4 times in the next movie that we'll talk about.
Well, he never, at least up until this point, it's clear he doesn't know how to stage an effects sequence at all. I mean, every single time we go into what is supposed to be kind of like a horror gore sequence, it cuts away so quickly, and it's so slapdashedly thrown together, which is also what the climax of this movie feels like too. It just feels like it's 3 separate scenes. He didn't know what the binding glue between those 3 scenes were, and he just threw them together.
Or he didn't shoot it. Like it was just something when he started editing the film, when he was like, oh fuck, I need something, but I'm already too late. Like everybody's already gone home. I can't get the back. Fuck, I'll just throw it together.
Which is what Bloodthirsty Butchers feels like for the vast majority.
The whole damn film feels like that. Like the only thing that feels like it was like he had a concept was that first 5 minutes with the Sweeney Todd in the barber scene, where he's like, all right, I did this. And he probably showed people, and they were like, oh, that's cool. That's nice. Let's try something. And then they ran with it. Like there was a scene I just saw where it's the 3 brides come to the woman's house, and they chloroform her. Which in the one who's got the chloroform in the swath, she's holding over her head. She got a big smile on her head, like, "Hi, we're gonna chloroform you now." Like, and she just comes up and fucking gets her in the face. And I'm like, "Oh, that's just wonderful."
I think it's just one of those things where he knew he was a playwright. He knew the stage. He didn't necessarily know what it took to tell a story visually in film. So he obviously, most of his movies are people talking.
Yeah.
And he knows what to do there. But when it comes to effect shots and how to do continuity between those shots, it doesn't work whatsoever, which is why the beginning of that first opening sex sequence where we're getting all of these crazy over the head shots and dolly moves and all this stuff is so uncharacteristic of him that I was kind of slack-jawed at this and expected all of a sudden, man, we finally got a real movie here for the first time.
Yep.
So listeners, what we're trying to tell you is that if you have an idea for a film, just go and do it. Watch a couple. You've been watching these films with us, and you realize, hey, this fucking maniac made films. Go out and make one, and then sell it to every idiot like us who buy films like this all the time.
Well, there are far worse indie movies than The Body Beneath. That are being made right now. I mean, if the worst thing about this movie that can be said, other than there's a good portion of the runtime that not a hell of a lot happens, is that maybe some of the effect sequences weren't as sophisticated as some other ones. That's not that big of a dig on this.
No,
it's still a pretty damn fun movie.
Like I said, top 5 for me. Fleshpot and Nightbirds, when we get to them, they're definitely in the top 5 for me. I'm already giving away my fucking hand. This is a fun film.
So, Evan, where do you place this one so far? Did you like this one?
Yeah, I like this. These are relative ratings. I mean, we've been through such shit that this feels like a good movie, you know. I'm not sure before this project where I'd place this. If I was just randomly to come across this movie, I'm not even sure I'd leave it on. But because we're doing,
did you hear that, Vaughn? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Because we're involved in academia, this takes on a different tone. And I thought it was good. I just love the fact that you can just notice so clearly him getting better and starting to care about what he's doing. And the funny thing is, how many movies did it take to get here?
I wonder, I have to ask as just a general question, because up to this point, I mean, we've watched a bunch of his movies, but we have to acknowledge that we just will never see a lot of his movies because they've all been lost. How much of those movies that are lost actually showcase more of the progression than the cheapy horror stuff that he was relegated to because this is what sold. Right. Because these horror movies, obviously, and when we do the next episode, which, you know, we keep talking about Nightbirds and Fleshpot, it's clear where his passion is. And it's not in these movies, which I think can account for why some of these are so slapdash and just thrown together, because his passion is more in kind of like human interest stuff, more like real people kind of drama than this ridiculousness that he kind of could sell. That's why the effects work doesn't work. It doesn't. It just he's just putting a movie together. It
explains why there's such pathos put into his Quasimodos. Like he's wrapping up this drama in this really exploitation, you know, shitty wrapping that can play on 42nd Street just because he needs to get a paycheck. But you can tell he wants to do something more. So yeah,
every single one of his films that aren't the horror films are infinitely better than the horror films.
Yeah.
Next episode, we'll absolutely be able to declare that.
Which also explains why he's just using vampires and werewolves and not coming up with anything else.
No,
like he isn't even like he's not even responding to George Romero, which
he's not even repackaging any of this. I mean, the place where they're staying is called Carfax Abbey. He lifts direct lines from Todd Browning's Dracula. I mean, there's so much of these movies. I mean, is this the one, or I think it might have been the next one, Blood, where he actually starts developing his own world within his own world, where they make reference to Mortavia again.
Yes, he's got a universe now. Yep. You can see it on a shipping box too, Mortavia. But one of the characters, the character's father, has suffered a violent death in Mortavia. That's the background of in the next movie. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that he was establishing some kind of like
cinematic universe.
Yeah.
What is it? The AMCU? So having said that, we all here dig this one. This is obviously for me one of the better movies in Andy Milligan's filmography. I would definitely put it up there in at least the top five. This is one of them. What about you, Evan?
So of what I've seen so far, which, like I said, I'm watching them as we go, so I haven't seen the ones we're going to watch next time. I kind of would put it a little bit below Seeds, because Seeds is just too punk rock for me not to put way up there, and but even below Vapors, even though Vapors is just a short, you know, Vapors is, like you said, showcasing his interest in human drama. So I'd put it below those two and above all the rest of them so far.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. Even though I've seen more of his work, and you know, this may bump down a little bit with subsequent films we're going to talk about, this is definitely one of the top ones for me. So let's go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about a Dracula versus werewolf pissing match in 1973's Blood. So stick around.
I've had parents explain to me, well, I let my teenager listen to rock music because that's all he'll listen to. Let me tell you, so the lyrics to real rock music is nothing more than satanic cyanide. Get it out of your house, throw it out, and burn it. It has no place in the house of the righteous.
This is the GOAT. from the album Bite Down Hard. That is Brittany Fox with our guest this week on guitars and vocals, the one and only Tommy Paris. That was louder. This is a very cool interview for me. I've been a fan of Tommy since 91. That was the year Bite Down Hard was released. And I'm at the end of the day an 80s rock guy. And just through a Twitter interaction, Tommy agreed to sit down for a stem-to-stern interview with the GOAT about everything.
I know that preparing to go sing for the first time with them, the very first time, I was working on the songs and singing so hard, I ripped part of my throat and I was coughing up blood and stuff. And I was just killing myself to make sure that when I showed up to sing that stuff, because that's what it takes to sing that stuff, that I was going to do the best job I could possibly do on it. That was all I had in my mind. I wasn't sure how they were going to hear it, but that's what I had in my mind. I was going to do whatever it took, bodily harm included, to just nail this stuff best somebody could who didn't write it or sing it, initially. And so that's where my head was. I was just out to do the best absolute job. Same with the songwriting, same thing. Just I had nothing else in mind except what's the best stuff I can write. And the way those guys write, they write really melody-friendly stuff. So it was, the first second I would hear a piece of their music, I could already hear melodies right out of the gate. So that made it easy. That definitely made it easy. But at no time did I think, oh, I got this in the bag. Never, not once. In fact, fast forward, we're out in L.A. recording Bite Down Hard, right, with the engineers who'd done No More Tears, Dwayne Barron and John Purdell. They produced all these No More Tears. So we're there at Devonshire and at One on One, where Metallica recorded the Black Album. We're at all these places. We're all done now. They're going to mix the album. And then I go back east to live for a while. And until it was in the stores, I still didn't think it was going to come out. I didn't. I was like, it was just unreal. It was just like, when I see that it's sitting in a store, then I'll realize, okay, this is actually happening.
What was the writing process like on Bite Down Hard? Did everyone come in with demos or partially written song ideas?
They probably each had at least 7 tunes right then. They wrote a ton more later, or had more that they didn't give to me at that time. But I think each of them gave me about 7 tunes, and some of those ended up on the record. A couple of those did. And then, of course, once I joined, we moved to CIL City, and we wrote for 6 months during the winter down there, and came up with a bunch more stuff. But yeah, I think about 7 each guy, so they're about 14 songs to mess around with.
Change your
Our guest this week on The GOAT, Tommy Paris and Brittany Fox from Bite Down Hard, that's Closer to Your Love. And if you want to hear the complete show with Tommy Paris, just go on over and find us. We're everywhere. Any place you find Astro Radio Z, you will find The GOAT. And you can hear the entire interview right there. But let's leave you with one more from Brittany Fox before we send it back to Derrick and Astro Radio Z. Can't do a Brittany Fox show without this one, Girls' School.
Big one at the door. folks. We'll see you later. Good night.
You are listening to Astro Radio Zine.
Call your local cable company to order your WCW merchandise pay-per-view.
Somebody get the gun!
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
1, 2, 3. All right, folks. This is That Wrestling Gimmick on the Astro Radio Z Network. I'm your host, Dustin Faish, and today I have Eric Woodard on the show. A man of many gimmicks, a true road dog with over 18 years in the business. Let's talk about how has the business as a whole changed since you broke in?
That's kind of mixed nuts for me, man. It's changed for the better in some ways on the indie level, and for the worse in other ways.
So we're talking. You got in. Well, what kind of the tail end of like Attitude Era? So all that like racy shit was kind of going on, and
right.
And then you kind of had the lull in the late 2000s. Was that kind of happening there towards like that? We call it like the ruthless aggression era. Did you feel all them kind of humps and valleys as you went in the independent circuit?
Oh, for sure. But back then, coming out of that big wrestling boom in like the late 90s, there were so many people calling themselves a wrestler, and it's true today. But I think the quality of some of the independent wrestling in some areas that I've witnessed has gotten a little better. But I think coming out of that wrestling boom out of the 90s, because wrestling was so popular, it was everywhere. It was on every TV show you could watch on primetime. Sitcoms would have, The Rock guest star, or like you just couldn't get away from wrestling. So pretty much anybody that had ever been anywhere in wrestling, if they were a mid-card guy in the smallest territory, in the smallest town, in the dustiest corner of America, they would open up a school. Well, people would line up. Oh, I'm going to be a wrestler. I'm going to be the next Stone Cold, or I'm going to be the next this. They would show up. But the problem was with these pop-up schools everywhere. And those guys that were opening them, were legit. They were workers from somewhere. But the problem was people would show up to these like free tryouts, and they would learn how to bump, and they'd learn how to lock up, and they might learn to take an arm drag. That's all they learned. They never developed as a worker. But they wouldn't want to pay $2,000 to $3,000 to go to that wrestling school. So then they would open up their own pit come tax time. And then they would try to train people that arm drag and lock up and the bumps they learned at their free tryout. So there was a lot of these wrestlers like popping up that never developed as a worker, never really learned psychology, never really learned, and there was a lot of that in the early 2000s.
Kind of glorified backyard wrestling type.
Right,
shit.
No, for sure. A lot of starters like backyarders that would end up renting out here. You know what I mean? That's that the other thing. I know that still happens now, but I think to a lesser degree. I think there's a greater proliferation of workers that have been somewhere that are offering at least like weekend seminars. Independents are bringing them in. Yeah, it's great.
It seems like as the legends start to age, it's like they're deciding that they want to give back a little bit.
Right. Well, and I think in some of them I think are driven to give back. Some of them just want to keep the lights on. That's okay too.
Right.
I think you've dedicated your life to a trade, and you can earn a few bucks passing on that knowledge. I think you should be able to eat on that.
There's been so many lulls. It seems like just now within the last few years, it's starting to have new life breathed into it.
Right. I think so. And if there's a guy, sometimes a legend, or sometimes it's a guy that, that's a top indie name, that's an ROH guy or whatever. He comes to town, earns a few extra bucks, performing for an independent company, earns a few extra bucks running a seminar for that day. Good for them, put some money in their pocket. But I think it's increased the quality of a lot of, at least for the people that care enough about their work and care enough about the business to learn and strive to get better. I think these seminars have been good.
People that seem to be taking it seriously again.
Right. And I think as long as the younger people that are taking advantage of that are being honest about their experience when they're trying to get booked, Don't tell me you were, like, well, who were you trained by? Well, I was trained by, whoever, Jimmy Jacobs or whatever. Well, don't tell me you were trained by him if tell me you took a seminar by him if you were there for 2 days or a day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Be honest about your level of experience, so you're not put in there with somebody and risking their life or risking them.
Exactly. I mean, you're talking, okay, man, if you don't have experience, we're going to be doing things where one of us could fucking drastically hurt the other.
Right, for sure.
Like,
it's
it's
not
very
a joke.
important to be honest. Yeah, it's not a fucking joke.
Well, there's a guy here a few years, I mean, this is way back. I mean, we're talking, I say way back, but 2000, probably 5 or 6. I remember there was a kid that showed up. Their show, MWA was running there in Omaha. And he told everybody he was trained by Harley Race, and this and that, a worker. And people don't realize how small the business is. I mean, literally, somebody can call somebody to call somebody. I mean, and find out the dirt off somebody in a minute.
Instantly.
But this guy's in the back there, something funny about the guy that he was going to be in a tag match. The guys that were in there, including the guy that he was paired with the partner with, who was a worker, they were all kind of looking at each other like, this guy's not one of us. You know what I mean? Like, you can just tell.
You kind of smell it out.
So they go out there. The guy couldn't walk up right. He couldn't do anything right. Well, it ended up being a rough night for him. I mean, he got banged up a little bit. But, I mean, to me, he had that coming. I mean, he didn't get any bones broken or anything, but yeah, he got his bell rung pretty good. When you misrepresent yourself, I mean, you're literally taking somebody's life in your own hands, and you don't know what you're doing. I mean, that's dangerous.
Well, if you tell me you're going to be able to take care of me, then you better be able to do it, and don't lie about it.
Right, absolutely.
Have you had any experience working with legends? Can you name any names, and can you give us anything that they told you, any insights, anything like that?
I've worked with a few folks over the years. Named some on the way up and on the way down. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from some of them. I've got some corrections from some of them over the years. One of my early matches, I was in the ring with Butch Reed, and I kind of fucked up. I tatered the shit out of him. I kind of with my elbow.
You tatered Butch Reed?
Man, yeah, I knew I had a receipt coming, man, and he bumped me, and he's picking me up off the mat, and I just knew he was going to, like, knee me across the bridge of my nose or something. I mean, I was squared up. I was ready to take it, but the receipt never came. He was such a professional. He was so smooth, and to this day, I mean, I think Butch Reed might be the smoothest guy I've ever been in the ring with, top 3. I mean, that guy was such a total pro. Once we were in the ring and the bell rang and the match was underway, and honestly, like, I did have a receipt coming because I fucked up, but I guess
he gave you the grace. He had to have been just strong as an ox too.
Oh my God, yeah, he was. He was jacked. I don't even know how old he was at the time. I mean, he was definitely past the prime of his career. But still just in really, really great shape. That guy was jacked, for, I don't even say for his age. I mean, just in general, that guy was still jacked and as smooth as butter. But yeah, I've tied up with a few guys. Shark Boy, I had a good time with him. Gangrel.
Oh, David Heath.
Oh yeah. I worked with him in a tournament in Omaha or Council Bluffs, Carter Lake, that area, several years ago, and that was right after my ACL injury that I didn't repair at the time. I was limping around and still working, and he led me to a pretty decent match because I wasn't worth a shit at the time. Like I said, I was working on one leg, just kind of trying to hold on to the dream a little bit rather than get it fixed and take some time off and do it the right way. I was trying to hold on to something that wasn't even there at the time, So
yep.
I was very grateful to be in there with a pro like him. He carried me to a decent match.
I follow him on Facebook. He seems like he would be a very insightful, very thoughtful dude.
He seemed to be so. I don't know him very well personally. I mean, honestly, that was
right. You just tied up with him.
2008 or 9. That's the only time I'd ever worked him. But yeah, he did. He definitely carried himself in a way that, I mean, he's a locker room leader. He's a guy that knows his shit for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. So have you gained any insights with your time in the business? Is there anything that you learned about life with your time doing wrestling?
Most importantly, everything is a shoot and everything is a work. That's the number one lesson you can take from wrestling. Everything is a shit, and everything is a work. If you keep that in mind when you turn on the news, or when you're watching television, or or you're watching that, it applies to everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything you hear. That's very insightful, sir. So what would you tell somebody just breaking into the business?
Tuck your chin and pay your dues. So I mean, it's just get on the road, do it. Don't half-ass it. I mean, if you love it, you believe in yourself, get on the road and do it.
Excellent, man. Could you elaborate on being a dad in professional wrestling? How did that go for you?
I was very, very fortunate back when I was, like I said, I was super, super busy back in the mid-2000s, and at that time, I was recently divorced. Actually, about the time I started getting busy, I was divorced. But I had custody of my 2 kids during the week, so I would find myself, having my kids during the week, and then they'd go to their moms on the weekend, and I'd go wrestle. So it worked out well in that regard, schedule-wise. It made, those 5 days you're at home, that Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday kind of gimmick, challenging. You had to sometimes be creative with your income and the hours you could work, trying to balance their needs with, being at work and making money. And so I learned to find jobs that I can make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time possible.
Right.
So I did a lot of things, I bounced at bars off and on for the last 20 years, but I've also, back in those days, I was delivering pizza during the lunch rush, man. I'd hit kids in school, man. I'd deliver 11 to 1 and try to make me a quick $120 or so. Just, running around town as quick as I could and get as many deliveries as I could so I could pay the bills. And then on the weekend, man, is playtime. So
just trying to balance the daily hustle with being able to go on the road doing what you love. You have thoughts and dreams, but acting on them and making that a reality are 2 totally different things. Sometimes it's hard.
Right, but it's definitely possible, especially in this world, man. We, like I said, I don't work a regular job now. I just, unless you count DJing 2 nights a week, I'm probably, like I said, on 2 weeknights.
But it pays off.
I do that. The rest of the time, man, it's just, hustle. Trying to sell T-shirts. Luckily, we've sold T-shirts around the world, and I've got to, again, thank, the Blake Braxton following, that he's built over the years doing the podcast and stuff. That's definitely helped me a lot. So we're selling T-shirts into markets that I haven't necessarily always appeared before live. I haven't wrestled in front of, but they like the gimmick and they like following the lore that surrounds this gimmick that we've, this world that we've created for ourselves.
It's excellent. And could you give us a plug of where we can find a T-shirt?
You know what? You follow Mr. Fitness 2 and or Midnight Rose on Facebook is the best place to do that right now. Mr. Fitness 2 or Midnight Rose. We've actually got some new designs that are coming out here. Hopefully I'll have available in the next week. I'm running a little behind. I was planning on getting them out at the end of January, but we ran a little behind. We've actually got new designs that will be available here in the coming days. So I've been working hard on that as well.
Cool, man, and we'll be waiting for those. Thanks very much, Eric, for taking the time to be in on the pilot episode, the first episode of That Wrestling Gimmick. I really appreciate your time, my friend.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Anytime you need me, give me a shout. Real quick, I would also want to throw out there, make sure you see actually myself, and also Mr. Fitness 2, Midnight Rose, and Blake Braxton. We'll make some appearances in the upcoming film, Shakespeare's Shitstorm by Trauma. That's going to be coming out this year. I don't have the date on that, but keep your eyes open for that. It's going to be fantastically disgusting and great all at the same time. Band projects, check out Purgatory Heights. I've actually got a new band that we're going to start gigging this spring as well. So be looking out for that. Mr. Fitness 2 guys, like the page. Hit us up, shoot me a message, and I'll shoot you a T-shirt, all that good stuff. And once again, thanks for having me, bud. I appreciate it.
Excellent, dude. Yeah, I would love to. Next time you guys are in town, I'd love to have you in the studio, and let's just let's shoot the shit. Let's watch some Star Wars, and let's just hang out, play some guitar, man.
Hey, that sounds good, man. Maybe we could try to prank call the president or something.
Excellent, man. Thanks for being on That Wrestling Gimmick.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Because that's what we want. We want rematches because this time, when we play the tune, it'll be loud and clear.
Mr. Markham, please go. I have a great deal of work to do and you're wasting my valuable time. I feel very tired from a long journey and extremely inhospitable. Good day.
You rude bastard.
Johnny? Did you lock her in like I told you? Look at me. Oh, Carlotta. You have no reflection. You didn't know, did you, that my father was Count Dracula?
So, a werewolf from the 1930s in London teams up with Dracula's daughter. They get married, actually, and decide to move into a London flat and conduct experiments to elongate their lives. In 1973's Blood by Mr. Andy Milligan, this movie was actually shot in Staten Island, even though it attempts to act like it's still in London. At this point, Andy Milligan had left London. His producer, the money had dried up, and he had been in tons of fights with them, and he basically got his ass kicked out, and he had to go licking his wounds, crawling back to New York into the same neighborhood that, you know, he had made a lot of his other movies. And this movie actually, I believe, was shot in his house where he was living at the time. And again, we have vampires, but this time we toss in a werewolf scientist. So the werewolf scientist, the Wolfman scientist, is married to Dracula's daughter, and we find out that the Wolfman's lineage is that he is the son of Lawrence Talbot, the Wolfman from the original Universal horror films. So again, fast and loose with just deciding, you know what? Nobody's going to catch me. I'm just going to steal whatever the fuck I want to steal. Andy Milligan.
Oh, yeah. These are it all. Remember, these are Z-grade films, so it's like no fucking people from the higher ups in like Universal are going, hey, let's check what this wacky gay guy from New York's putting together. No, there wasn't a lot of like people checking on shit like it was nowadays.
I think the best description of this movie I found on a website called Dominion of Scum. They said that this movie was Blood Feast meets Downton Abbey. And I tend to agree with it. I mean, we have the Dr. Wolfman Orlovsky, who's afflicted with lycanthropy from his father, Lawrence Talbot, as I had said before, and he maintains a garden filled with man-eating plants and settles down to play house with his with the daughter of Dracula, who is the hands-down most whiny, bitchy character you're going to find in just about any Milligan movie, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
Evan, what did you think of the daughter of Dracula in this movie?
Well, I didn't know that she was until the end when that seems like a reveal to me towards the end.
hold on. When he first buys that house and he moves in and the whole horde of people bring in the person with the bag over the face.
I didn't know what that was.
Did you not realize that was his wife? Like,
yes, I did.
Son, like
where they take the bag off and she basically looks like a paper mache, like Play-Doh vampire.
That was a great effect. I guess I did. I knew that she was a vampire. I didn't realize. At the end, her father was Dracula. I was an idiot.
As we said before, he's playing fast and loose with whatever he can steal with this movie. And this one, instead of the last one, is what are the two monster movies that he's used before in the past. It's vampires and werewolves. Well, let's make them to be a married couple. And as Vaughn had said, the Dr. Wolfman, he's a complete asshole.
Oh my God.
And rents this flat, pushes the landlord out once he rents the flat. And in the back door, we know that these are monsters because as soon as he opens the door, a bunch of fog enters. And during the day, when it's obviously no fog outside.
I love that.
And they all come in, all these people, just all these random people that in the grand scheme of things mean.
They're all carrying like paper bags and plastic bags full of crap, and they're like dragging this half dead mummified body in with them. It's like, and clearly like they're still in the sunlight, and they're like, take it off, we gotta fix this. And they take it off, and you get this meat popsicle of like, what the fuck is going on here? And
it is one of the worst looking vampires. It reminds me of Howling New Moon Rising when we get the Wolfman reveal, and it's just some fucking goodwill mask of a werewolf.
Yeah, but the one thing I like about it, though, is that he's actually trying. Unlike the other ones with the vampires where he blatantly hides it, and the werewolves where the only time he actually had a werewolf is in Werewolves Are Coming, where it's at the very last minute, and it's all just because it's a woman. It looks like she has a beard on. It's just like, oh, okay. This, at least he's like, all right, let's try something crazy. You know, can anybody get me like 12 pounds of raw meat and 2 fake eyeballs? Can I steal your dentures and we just jam them in there? You know?
We say this, but again, the Wolfman only shows up in 2 scenes very briefly.
Barely.
Yeah, that's another example of what I was talking about before, about these really bad action edits.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't even know what just happened. Just about.
Yeah, you can tell, but you can tell in these 2 films that he's trying something like not different because these are just the same tropes he does all the fucking time. Like with this film, he took what he learned from being in England and tried to bring it here with no money.
Zero money, which explains why this movie only has a runtime of like an hour and 9 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a quick one.
But you can definitely tell that he whatever he learned in London and England, he took back here, and then he just couldn't get the money to make the films like he was getting there because he's such a pain in the fucking ass. And people are like, yeah, we'll give you money to make something, but we need it done like this, and we need vampires and we need werewolves in it. Perfect. I'll make a weird fucking drama about a vampire being married to a werewolf, and you guys ain't gonna watch it until it's put on screens. Who gives a shit?
Well, they sold it well. The poster's nice, and I mean, they definitely have, as you said, the exploitation angles that they needed to. But as always, the vast majority of this film is a drama of people bickering about horrible relationships.
The first time, the 2 people who are the main characters in the film, the vampire and the werewolf, are total jerk-offs, but they're meant to be together because they're both total jerk-offs. It's like, come on.
He was a great actor, though.
Yeah, he's fun. He's a fun actor, but she's bitchy as hell, and he's a big dickhead. Like, he's constantly just like, even with, like we said, the landlord, as soon as he buys the place, rents the place, he kicks him right out. Doesn't even let him continue talking. Like, he's mid-sentence. He's like, get out. Like, he's just kicking him out. And the guy is so uptight and so, like, up his own ass. And his wife is so needy and, like, bitchy that you're like, oh, they're meant to be together. Perfect. Like, they could be together forever because they're going to be forever because she's a vampire and he's a werewolf.
But he still looks elsewhere.
Yeah.
Everyone's constantly got to be cheating on each other in these Andy Milligan movies. Everyone's fucking everyone, just like Bloodthirsty Butchers. Everyone's fucking everyone in this movie. He has an assistant who helps him in his experiments. Again, like the rats are coming, the werewolves are here. We have a werewolf that has to conduct experiments to cure not only himself, but to elongate the life of his vampire bride.
This is great, though. I love this angle. This is where I really liked how batshit this movie was. They have like these plants down in the basement that sound, they're constantly moving and growing, and they sound like somebody making a balloon animal. You know, it's like balloons rubbing against each other. And you have to feed these plants blood.
Yeah.
So that's one of the help in the house. Carlotta, they just keep draining her of blood, and they say you can't drain blood from the brain too often before you start showing signs. So she is an absolute ghoul.
Well, she's basically the Quasimodo character in this.
Yeah,
movie.
basically, yeah. She's got a little makeup on, and she's interesting that she can even take orders. But yeah, these plants eat blood, and if you touch them, they give you like gangrene. I mean, it is awful what it does. So you see a little of the history because one of the help's name is Orlando, and he's just shuffling around at knee height.
Yeah,
really
the entire
funny.
movie, which for the first like half of the movie, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Is he on a wheelchair? They never show it. You never know what the fuck's wrong with this guy.
Right. Yeah. He's supposed to be a little person, right? Am I?
No.
His legs.
Just like his assistant, who is basically the lead of this movie, opposite Wolfman Scientist, she has a bum leg because of the plant had infected her.
Sure, yeah.
So he actually has almost no legs.
Yeah.
He's kind
on
of
a
like the
cart.
dude in Freaks that has to walk around on his hands.
Yeah. It's really funny. Just because of all the shots, the framing, he's in his head's at the bottom, like waist height. And I think Milligan really did a good job with these helpers here because you have Orlando, and that's kind of funny. And I can't imagine that he wasn't kind of laughing at that while he was making it. And Carrie, his assistant, she's dressed up like a porcelain doll. Or I also thought she reminded me of Glinda the Good Witch.
That's a good analogy. I never even thought about it like that because Dracula's daughter is kind of like the Wicked Witch, and she's the Good Witch.
Yeah. She's painted like white. Her face is all powder white, and she's got these curls on both sides of her head, just like a porcelain doll.
Yeah,
and the way that she talks just reminded me of Glinda. And then, of course, there's Carlotta the Ghoul, and these are the people that are helping him with his experiments. But I just loved that whole man-eating plant angle.
It's so cockamamie. It comes out of nowhere, and the sequences that actually have it in there are so random in a very random movie. The stuff that happens in this movie just happens out of nowhere all the time.
Yeah. Like it feels like he's gone back to the same thing where he's just writing things on napkins and making ideas and stuff like that. And it's like, I think the only thing that maybe he had an idea was the plants. Everything else seems to be like, all right, we're just gonna put this character in here, put this character in here. No, you don't think?
I just wanted to say another thing that comes from him is having Dracula's daughter chop the mouse in half and put half of it in her mouth.
Okay, yeah, just like in The Rats Are Coming, where there was a mouse mutilation sequence. We have another one in this one.
Yeah, what the hell is wrong with Milligan? And he made her put that in her mouth. You can tell. It's like when.
Well, obviously, he was not living in a very nice place because right behind the mouse was a bunch of cockroaches walking around on the fucking countertop.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's straight from Milligan, and probably one of the reasons why nobody wanted to work with him.
Yeah, it's gross out material. That's what it pretty much is. It's like you're going to show these to the 42nd Street crowd. You got to find something that's going to make them like go, ugh.
There are a lot of parallels in just the story and some of the details between this and The Rats Are Coming, where we have the werewolf scientist who's trying to find remedies and to help extend the lives of everyone. And the outside world is trying to encroach in on them.
Yeah.
This movie has multiple side plots that ultimately don't really go much of anywhere. The assistant has a brother that she's in love with. Have they had sexy time before? Are we to believe that had happened at some point?
The eyes they were giving to each other. Yes, it seems like they may have had something going on. Yeah.
This is where, like I talked about in The Body Beneath, where there's just a sequence in the movie that goes on for 10 minutes that doesn't amount to really anything other than the fact that this character can then be led up to the attic where Dracula's daughter has an acid vat, I guess, in the floor.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
There's that, and then there's a side plot where Wolfman Scientist has an executor to his family's estate and money, which he's depending on so he can continue his experiments. This executor has the worst eyebrows I've ever seen in a movie, bar none. They are so bushy, they might as well have just taken a bunch of cotton balls, attached them across his forehead, and painted them silver. And he has this ongoing feud with this executor and his assistant, which is this beautiful lady that, of course, Wolfman Scientist has got to try and get on her, too. Wolfman Scientist is just trying to spread seed all over the place in this movie.
Yeah, even though he has no soul.
He's a horny dude, though. Them Wolfmen, you got to watch out for them Wolfmen. a lot's going on in this thing. We have him and Miss Prudence meeting out in a graveyard 3/4 of the way through this movie, and we see Maggie Rogers again, who was the mom from Seeds. She shows up as the cemetery caretaker, and has to tell all this exposition about, you know, Wolfman's past as Lawrence Talbot's son, and oh, you better watch out, the moon's coming, and blah 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 blah, you gotta get out of here, and blah 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 blah. She's the one who ultimately gets both of her hands chopped off. So at least we got the hand chopping off happening in this movie. We didn't have the Quasimodo, we had the hands chopping off. But she only lasts, of course, 10 minutes in this movie. And then she's off. Then Mr. Eyebrows, the executor of Wolfman Scientist's estate, shows up, threatens them all. And then we are shown a sequence in which he walks from the house and gets killed supposedly by somebody, but you can't see a goddamn thing because it's filmed at night with no lights, and all you hear is a bunch of growling and this old guy going, whoa, whoa, what is that? Whoa, what is that? It goes on for 5 fucking minutes.
What is the story behind that? It was invisible.
There's both of these movies have a whole sequence that goes on where you can't tell a goddamn thing that's going on in it. And I watched the HD remaster of this, which both of these movies, if you are going to watch either of these movies, please go get the new Blu-ray remasters of these movies, because it helps tremendously with the enjoyment of these movies. They actually look decent.
Yeah.
That's not to say that Blood is as sophisticated looking as The Body Beneath. There's still a lot of, I'm going to put one huge harsh light in the middle of the scene and people are going to walk right into it and all the highlights are going to blow out of these fuckers. In this movie, the first movie looked much better than this movie, but this movie is helped, like Guru the Mad Monk, by its brevity. It goes by very quickly. There's enough cockamamie bullshit that happens in it. The vampires have fake plastic dime store teeth that every kid has when they want to be a vampire.
It's great.
And her hairline turns into the what do you call that? The widow's peak.
Yep.
Yeah.
When they're fighting at the end. And so we are to, I guess, understand that they basically die in a fire, right? I mean, they
want to save the plant because they decide that, okay, they got to move out of there quick because everyone's found them out. They're vampires. They got to get out of there. They got to move to the countryside to make sure that they're not going to die. Someone starts the plant on fire down in the basement so it doesn't overgrow the entire thing. Dracula's daughter gets all pissy and they all end up going down in the basement and dying in a fire. Then who shows up and re-rents the house?
Baron von Frankenstein.
Jesus Christ. So much fucking happens in this movie for an hour. This is, for me, one of the most enjoyable of Andy Milligan's movies. It's so cockamamie. It's so, it reminded me a lot of Seeds, where it was really shrill in a lot of places. There were a lot of characters that fly in and out of this thing. I had a lot of fun with this one. Vaughn, Blood, what do you think of this thing?
Well, this was a first time watch for me. I don't know
Interesting.
why.
What prevented you from watching this before? You just never.
I just could never find a copy of it. You know, and when we were putting this together, I was like, oh, that's one I've never heard of. I was thinking it's the other one, Legacy of Blood, which is, I think, around the same time.
And that's the remake of Ghastly Ones.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking originally. And then when I watched this, when you sent it to me and I watched it, I was like, holy shit, this is not that bad. And it's small. You know, it's a fast film for 67 minutes, 68 minutes, whatever the hell it is. It's like, oh, this is super quick. It's really great. And it just, you know, he jams in so much crap. Like for a short film, he jams in a lot of stuff. And it makes it well worth watching. So it's definitely, it's kind of pushed something out of my top 10. I just don't know what. And this isn't, this is still a top 10 film because it's fun. It's fun and it moves really fast. And like, you have no respect for any of the characters in the film. You know what I mean? None of them you really like. They're not.
No, they're all shit heels.
But there's something about that just like any Andy Milligan film, because most of the time, all the characters just suck. They're terrible people. You really want to watch what happens to them. You want to see them die in a fire at the end of the film. I thought it was a real good time.
I'm really surprised the relative obscurity that this movie has been relegated to for so long, because this movie was originally distributed in 1974 by Bryanston Pictures. And if my listeners are familiar, Bryanston Pictures are the same people that put out Andy Warhol's Frankenstein and, of course, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yep.
And this must have just fallen between the cracks after, its initial theatrical run and a brief stint on VHS. Because I had never seen this back in the day until, this came out with the HD masters that have been happening in the last couple years. Had you ever seen this before, Evan?
No. I'm surprised that this one wouldn't be the one that everybody knows, because it's so much better than those other ones.
Of his horror movies, this has almost got to be one of the best ones, if not the best one.
I just love the characters in this. I think they're all interesting. Even Mr. Markham, the real estate guy, he was a great character.
Yeah, he was a real piece of wormy shit in this movie.
Yeah. I thought he looked kind of like Dr. Jekyll or something.
He kind of was like Ebenezer Scrooge, but a lot more weaselly than Ebenezer Scrooge.
I like the scene where Markham dies. They reveal that they've sort of propped him up like a scarecrow in the plant garden, and all the plants are eating him, and they say within a couple hours he'll be totally consumed. And I thought he looked like Orville from Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Totally, man. Well, this one, fans of real cheeseball shit should get into this thing. If you're a fan of Astro Radio Z, this is the kind of movie you kind of look for. The first time I saw this, I was super surprised by how much I liked this, considering the vast majority of
for Andy in general.
Yeah, this surprised me because it's goofy. It's super goofy. It still has a lot of unnecessary drama.
I feel with the drama in this film, it's completely it's nonsensical. Like all the other films, because there's no time in this film where he sits for a long period and babbles on with the couple in general, Wolfman and Dracula, the woman, are clearly she just sucks the life out of the room, and he's just miserable. But it's there's no time in the film like there is in other films where he gives you 10 minutes of people bickering to each other, and it's totally nonsensical, and it doesn't help anything that's flat. And he has no time at all in this film. He has 67 minutes to get it done. Just get it done. Get what I have to get in there and get it out. And that's the one reason I really like it, because it's just it's just like a shotgun blast. It's all right, and it's done.
I almost wish somebody would go through most of these movies of this era and just do a cut down. Do an hour-long cut down of all these period piece talky Milligan horror movies. It would be perfect. Because that's what works the most about this. So, Evan, at the end of the day, where would you place this thing? Did you end up walking away liking this one?
Oh, yeah. I was surprised at this, I think, just like you. I was watching this, and I sort of perked up when I saw that Orlando had both of his legs chopped off, and I was starting to laugh. I was like, oh, man, this is great. Seeing the plants and those weird sound effects. And, yeah, this is better than, I think, I like this better than Body Beneath. Definitely. It's batshit.
Well, it's got a Wolfman. The whole premise is a goddamn Wolfman scientist is married to Dracula's daughter, and they have basically a man-eating plant down in their basement.
Yeah, I love that.
It's fucking stupid. It's so stupid. I love it. I kind of love it. This is one of my favorite, bar none, one of my favorite Andy Milligan movies by far. Vaughn, how did you come out on this? Did you end up really digging this one?
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably find this on Blu-ray. I had The Body Beneath on Blu-ray, so it's definitely going to be put in the collection at some point. I thought it was fun the two times I've watched it. I watched it last night, just kind of transfixed. I was doing other things, and I was like, okay, this because you get introduced to the characters quickly. When you get introduced to the vampire woman and her face is half rotted off, and you're like, okay, I know where we're going with this. All right, let's just have fun. And that's what it is. It's just so goofball, and it's just a fun time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, folks, that's it for the night with these two. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to say goodbye to the vampires and the Wolfmen. Because I don't know if we don't ever come back to the period piece talkie drama, Wolfman or monster dramas. again with Andy Milligan. So I hope you enjoyed this period in his life, because man, for the most of it, I sure as fuck didn't.
You are listening to Astro Radio Z.
Hello, I am Daniel, and welcome to the Bottom Rack. Bottom shelf bottom shelf movies for your top shelf lifestyle. That's what it is. The Bottom Rack. Bottom shelf movies for your top shelf lifestyle. Sorry, y'all lay off of me. I ain't done this in a bit. Anyway, I have watched some movies, and actually I've watched a movie. I gotta tell you about this movie. If you have joined us, or at least heard me in Trailer Jerks, which is my other little group of podcasting compadres where we sit around and we gripe and moan about movies and stuff. One of the fun things we do is Trailer Jerks, where we just review a movie trailer. And basically the premise of that is, watching that trailer, does that make me want to watch the movie? So we did one called Star Slammer, and I fell in love with that trailer. That trailer had everything that I need in a trailer, and I'm not going to go into it because you can listen to Trailer Jerks for it, but I wanted to give a full-on bottom rack episode of Star Slammer: The Escape. Now, I pretty sure you would find this movie on the bottom shelf somewhere. I bought the Blu-ray. This movie was that good. I bought the Blu-ray that night during the podcast episode. I will go into Star Slammer. You will please forgive me if I stumble and mumble kind of through this. I watched it, I think last week or the week before last. So I've watched like a lot of movies lately. So I'm going to try not to stumble over it, and I don't want to. You need to go into this movie and watch it and enjoy it. As you've already seen, or you can tell from the tone of my voice, I really dug this flick. And so I'm going to get right into it. Star Slammer, 1986. The original title of this film is called Prison Ship. The genre of this is an action, comedy, sci-fi. I'll just go ahead and give you the synopsis here. I don't know. What would you rather have? Why am I asking you as if I can even hear you? Because I can hear you. All right. The director of this film was Fred Olen Ray. And the name may sound familiar. So if you're into cult cinema, stuff like that, I mean, you should recognize him. Fred Olen Ray, I mean, he's done such wonderful movies as Steven Seagal, Sniper, the special ops thing. I mean, he's got a really long list of movies, such movies as Biohazard and The Alien Dead and Cyclone, Armed Response, Deep Space, Terminal Force, Warlords, Hunting Fear. The dude knows his stuff. Okay, Star Hunter was the video of it. You can look it up on IMDb. So anyway, Fred Olen Ray. Writers was like a whole bunch of people. I don't really think it would matter all that much. And it stars Sandy Brooks, Susie Stokey, and Ross Hagen. The synopsis of Star Slammer. Two women who have been unjustly confined to a prison planet plot their escape, all the while having to put up with lesbian guards, crazed wardens, and mutant rodents. That's not the full synopsis of what actually got me. And I think if you looked up the synopsis in other places, you might say, I mean, it mentions everything in this thing, like Astro Zombies. So fans of Astro Radio Z are going to want to dig this. All right, let's go to the cover art for Star Slammer: The Escape. All right, you had the font, which is just typical 80s zooming font. It's hard to explain. It looks like it's just zooming from left to right across the cover of the VHS. This is actually a poster. It looks like they scanned a movie poster on this, and I would totally put this on my wall. It says Untamed, Uncaged, Unleashed in Space. And you've got a chick scantily clad, what looks like leather. In her right hand, she is holding an Imperial Stormtrooper class laser rifle, like just your standard blaster that a Stormtrooper from Star Wars would use. So that's really funny. And she's got a spiked studded collar around her neck with a chain leading up to it. You have in the background a spaceship blasting another spaceship with lasers. You have in the bottom right some dude who looks like he walked straight out of the set of Mad Max, like the Road Warrior. He looks really, I actually thought it was him, the guy with assless chaps. I thought it was him. And then in the bottom left, you got what looks like the cast from Return of the Living Dead. So it's a Vidmark release. I don't know why. I'm trying not to ramble. I'm just trying to explain how much I love this movie. All right, this is a prison film. And if you're familiar with like prison films, prison exploitation movies, this movie sets itself up to be that. However, and I really don't get, I'm in no way am I getting preachy on this ever. I despise all of that. If any of y'all are my friends, y'all know that. I don't preach on this. I don't care. Everybody's fine. We're all the same crap. It doesn't matter. So I don't even bother about virtue signaling or none of that bullshit. I don't care. But I do feel that I should bring this up with the film. And I will. Just talking about like the way it treats their female cast. I've already said it's an exploitation film, so I've probably caught your interest in that. And this is an exploitation film, but it's not what you would think. I said it's refreshing, because here's the refreshing part. It's not in a Nazi death camp. Like most of the time when you see these prison movies, like two women forced to find love at the hands of the SS tyrant. And it's just like, okay, I get it. We've seen one, we've seen them all. And if you're into that, they're pretty cool. I mean, as a little kid, I will admit, you know, they're kind of cool. You want to see that. You're going to see two chicks get it on, and in a nice little softcore porny way that you normally would have to watch scrambled cable vision late at night on channel 99. Not that I ever did that. So this is a prison flick, a women's prison flick. We already know that. However, there's a whole lot going on in this film. Like, we've got subplot happening. The writers have built a world and a system of governance, and so there's a whole lot going on in the background that will intersperse throughout the film, as well as some stuff that reminds me of Paul Verhoeven. Like, it would just bring in random stuff like commentary from a TV show, like they're watching TV in the cafe or the cafeteria of the prison ship. They're watching a TV game show and stuff. It's just really interesting, intriguing. So as it kicks off, it tells you the background story of whatever. I can't really remember it, and that's fine because you want to watch this. And it goes to a planet. The planet was named Arouse, or Arous. And all I can think of was like, so that's the name of it. So it wears its camp humor on its sleeve. We are introduced on the planet to a shapely lady named, whose real name is Sandy Brooke. Her name is Tara. And she's just prancing around the planet. And then there's like I think it was a crashed ship, there's an old guy walking along. Somehow or another, your Imperial Guard or whatever shows up on the planet and start chasing this chick around. And what I needed to mention about this, like as far as the women in prison thing, is, this is an exploitation flick, so you're going to get that. However, only during the very beginning, because you're expecting it, wondering if it's going to get slightly rapey with the whole thing. And I was happy to say that this movie never really did that. When I say really, there was a part at the beginning where, yes, the dude who looked like he came from the Road Warrior, he like has her pinned, and you can see that, lascivious grin that he's given her. He pins her hands down, but it's only for like maybe 5 seconds before she throws his hand in a fire or acid or whatever and melts it off. So other than that one scene and the campy exploitation parts of it, there is no rapiness to it. And I feel like I'm not even going to go out on a limb to say that they respected anybody in this film. This film has no respect at all. It's an exploitation prison flick. However, it was nice to actually see something different. Like I said, it didn't take place in a Nazi death camp. It takes place in a spaceship with somebody made a full-on background story to this thing, like background political nature and stuff. We have a system of government that you meet, you see these people. So anyway, the chick's taken up to the prison ship, and on the prison ship, it's got a warden, and the lady Tara, she is introduced to her other inmates on the prison ship. And they are all beautiful with their mid-'80s hairstyles, and they're buxom, and they're naturally 80s, I guess. They look natural. You're going to see boob. This is a prison ship exploitation flick. So, you know, the prudes, I already told you, warned you, it's an exploitation movie. So, you know, you're going to see a boob shot or 4 if you're lucky. So, you're going to see the main chick. You're going to see her rack. And and I mean, again, she's not the greatest of actresses, so I'm pretty sure I know why she was hired for the film. That's no slam. It is what it is. The other chicks in the prison ship, that's what it's called. The other chicks, whether they all run the gamut. But again, it's like different. There's no real, it's got a slightly, I'm trying to think, like a slight innuendo at one scene, but there's none of the ones where the chicks just fall in love and start getting it on with each other. There's not. You have your stereotypes among the gang. You've got the brain. You've got the you've got the brawn. I was about to say the broad, but they're all that. So you got the brain and you've got the brawn, and she reminds me of Vericosa. If you ever watched In Living Color, it's like, yeah, hold on, I'll get the beers. It's just watch it. It's really fun. But she's still gorgeous, as if that matters. But I mean, to 10-year-old me watching this, it did. In all, the trailer was better than the movie. I will admit that. It had its setups, but we were never treated to any hokey or forced sex scenes that were uncomfortable. There was an uncomfortable-ish type sex scene. I say ish, you just have to watch it. And I'm trying to think here again. I never want to spoil movies, so I don't want to spoil this one. I just am trying to warn you. If you're wanting exploitation and sci-fi, this is your movie. I mean, seriously, you need to listen to Trailer Jerks, and then you need to like maybe listen to this. And hopefully, and if I still haven't convinced you, if you're still on the fence about this, just don't waste your time, because it's one of those films. But if I have intrigued you with anything I have said up to this point, I feel like you're really going to enjoy this film. It's got everything. All right, we'll just do this. I won't even ramble too much about it. I'm already getting along in the tooth with this as it is, other than the fact, let's see, exploitation flick, prison ship chicks. Okay, that should interest you. You see her rack twice, and a lot of side boob and butt and thigh. Okay, so we'll get the base things out of the way. Sci-fi, you're in space in a prison ship. The settings and set design are incredible. Like, for this movie to have barely any money, this thing was awesome. Like, the set designs and set pieces were incredible. The acting, we won't even worry about that. We'll just go back to the set designs. It was really cool. It had special effects, most of which were practical. This film had aliens. It had a battle with aliens. It actually had a couple of decent blood spurts, like blood sprays. It was really cool. Had chicks duking it out, like fighting each other. And let's see, you just about see a boob shot in that one too. The cover art, I have described it before. We got a chick in leather with the little tie thing, so we're seeing some ample boobage. She's got a laser gun, and she's got a chain collar. She's got furry boots. You've got people in the bottom left-hand corner in a control room area thingy. And then in the right-hand corner, you got a dude in goofy armor, awesome armor, might I add. And in the background, you've got spaceships blasting each other. Everything that is on this cover was in the movie and more. So I am happy. Like, seriously, I do have to say her hairstyle in the cover is like incredible. Because in the movie, I don't really dig like her hair for the most of it, but there is a part where, like, I guess there's a different hairstylist, because this one scene her hair's one way and immediately the next scene it's another way, and then it goes back to the other way. It's really funny. Anyway, Star Slammer, and I loved it. I bought the Blu-ray. This may not be for you, but everything that I have described up to this, if you are still with me, I feel like you might enjoy this flick. Watch a trailer, listen to Trailer Jerks, and, you know, ultimately form your own opinion. But I love this film. I actually bought the Blu-ray, so that'll tell you how much I enjoyed it. I'm sure it was an impulse purchase, but still. Anyway, I am Daniel. This has been The Bottom Rack, and thank you very much for listening. I will holler at y'all later.
He's gonna re-record this tomorrow when he's stone sober, not like 3 sheets to the wind like he is kind of right now.
Well, I mean, I would actually. This would be a better podcast if I was actually 3 sheets to the wind.
I know. I heard the last shot on video one. Yeah, he sounded like that by the end of it. Jeez.
Actually, I didn't drink at all.
Your poor fucking girlfriend though, making her watch that goddamn movie. Holy shit.
Oh, she loved it. You loved Gun Blast, didn't you? No. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. She loved it. She fucking loved it. Oh man, Gun Blast. I watched like 3 or 4 more of his movies. Yeah. I need to have like a Nick Millard retrospective on this show because people need to see his movies.
I started one of them. I can't remember which one. Maybe 357 Magnum or something.
Oh God. His action movies are some of the worst things I've ever seen, but I love them. I am like Vaughn is obsessed with Andy Milligan stuff. Nick Millard hits something with me where I am just obsessed. It feels like somebody that had never actually seen a movie in his life putting an action film together. Yet he was a smut art house director.
Yeah.
And so long.
I've only seen the smut stuff and the horror stuff. I didn't see the action stuff on him. Because all those crazy fat Ethel films and the Criminally Insane, I've seen those, and a couple of the films he did in the late 70s, those smut films. I'm like, oh, these are awesome. Like, those are definitely films you should see if you can find those. The couple of smut films he did for podcast at Orgy Castle. I think you'd get a kick out of it. I don't know if she'd get a kick out of it.
Paula likes a lot of the same stuff, so she might get a kick out of it. I do not think she would get a kick out of Gun Blast.
No.
Or the action stuff. They are a little too nonsensical and boring.
Yeah.
Because Gun Blast is legitimately nothing happens in that movie. It will blow your fucking mind.
I heard your review.
I love the comment that you can't ever tell if 2 people are in the same room.
It's funny when you talk about that and you think about us complaining about Andy Milligan's editing. Mm-hmm. Andy Milligan might as well be one of the greatest editors of all time compared to Nick Millard.
Right. Because you don't have that problem at all.
Nope.
Oh my God.
You understand the space for the most part. I guess Sweeney Todd, not really.
Well, most of the people in Andy Milligan's movies actually speak like human beings. They're not like aliens that came down and are trying to approximate human beings. Oh my God. It had been so long since I had seen like Crazy Fat Ethel in, the Criminally Insane movies and Cemetery Sisters and stuff like that. So seeing Gun Blast was just like, it sidestruck me in a way I hadn't been sidestruck in a really long time. So I went down a rabbit hole big time. I watched 357 Magnum. I watched The Terrorists.
I feel like that seems to be a common thing that happens. I think Eric?
Yes.
He mentioned it in one of the show that, he used to be a horror guy. And it seems like that's what happens. You're into horror movies and you get into all these really shitty B horror movies. And then all of a sudden you discover that action movies are just as bad and fun in the same way. And like that, it's almost like a neglected corner.
Well, I almost think the reason why action movies are so easily laughed at and so easy to kind of just jump into and kind of just have a goofy fun time is because the vast majority of them take themselves so goddamn seriously that the testosterone and the masculinity and how we're supposed to identify with these, protagonists as males is so laughable.
Yeah.
Like they take themselves so goddamn seriously.
That one, Vinegar Syndrome just started this new line, VSA. And the one of them is what is it? Something Feud. It's Frank Stallone.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It is so funny. I was dying laughing. Yeah, I have it.
I'm gonna look this up right now.
It's they released that and Evil Town, and Evil Town is actually really good. It's another compilation type thing like Spookies, where it's like two different movies they put it together.
Oh, okay, sure.
And one of them is just a reshoot or a reimagining of Evils of the Night, which is
Savage Harbor.
Yeah,
Savage
I'm looking
Harbor.
at it right now.
It's so
Harbor.
funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's Frank Stallone. There's this 5-minute long like love montage scene between him and the female lead, and it's so loveless. It is so passionless, and he can't act for anything. Like, they direct him to look longingly at the female, and he just stares like he's thinking about something, like thinking of what he needs to buy at the grocery store.
Yeah, he needs to make himself a ham sandwich.
I died laughing watching.
All right, so this one's Savage Harbor. Its alternate title is Death Feud.
Yeah.
Okay, Death Feud. That's what.
Okay, so this one is definitely worth it, you say?
Yes.
All right. You were talking to me in the chat off air about a bunch of good Vinegar Syndrome releases that have gone out there. What are some other releases that some of my listeners would get into that you've gotten lately?
Oh, well, I subscribe to them, so I keep getting them. I mean, I think a lot of
what does that cost, their subscription?
So at the end of the year, Black Friday, you can get all of the non-porno titles for like $600 or something like that. But if you want the hardcore stuff in there, it's like $700 something.
Okay.
And because there's not that many, they throw in a handful.
Porn is becoming less and less as the years.
Yeah, they're moving away.
That was a big part of their catalog.
Well, the thing is, they're running out of film because they only do stuff that's on film. So once they start getting into the 80s and shot on video stuff, they don't do any of that stuff. So once it starts getting past that stuff, and they can't do any of the other stuff that's kind of illicit. Like they can't touch any of the Tracy Lord stuff unless they want to edit it. Yeah. So they're kind of running out of things. I think they realize that the people who are buying their stuff are buying more and more of the horror and cult stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And actually it's more the hardcore that are picking up the hardcore stuff. You know what I mean?
Of course. I mean, if you go to Cinema Wasteland, the vast majority of the stuff that they're moving there is all the horror stuff.
Yeah. The ones like Suckling, I love that.
Oh God, that movie is fucking insane.
So funny. The Uninvited, which is that crazy cat inside of a cat.
Yeah. Which predates Captain Marvel. That is the cat with the alien. It predates Captain Marvel. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. There's a really good, the internet guys, I think it was either Found Footage Festival or Everything is Terrible. Well, I think it's Everything is Terrible. They did like a 3-minute version of Uninvited. Hilarious.
Yeah.
They do what you were basically saying to do with Andy Milligan. They just cut down to all the funny parts.
I would love to see. I'm serious about it. I would love to see all this mid-era Milligan cut down to an hour. All of it. Yeah. I bet you it would feel so much better. Like all these, I'm not even asking for just like a super cut of maybe like 15 minutes of the movie. Just cut the shit down to an hour. And I bet you these movies, I bet you I would even actually enjoy The Rats Are Coming if it was only an hour long.
Somebody could look at these films, watch it a couple of times and go, okay, I can cut that scene out of it and it would make no difference. You know what I mean? But the thing is, like, you can watch any of these films and you can pinpoint the one scene in that film where it's like, what does this have to do with anything? And cut it right out, and it takes out 15 minutes of the film right there. It's like, oh, right. That's perfect.
But then you make a separate cut of just the incestuous relationships that don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
The ghastly ones would be an extremely great movie cut down to only like maybe 65 minutes.
Okay, maybe.
There's a project for you.
Maybe. But anyways, back to Vinegar Syndrome, they have a bunch of releases that I've been eyeballing up. Like they just released Lust in the Dust that we've covered here on the podcast before, which is an amazing Par Bartel movie. You should definitely check that one out. Grandmother's House, which is Frank Stevens' gimmick. You definitely should check. That's one of her best movies, hands down.
Yep.
There's been a bunch of good stuff they've been tossing out there lately.
I feel like they really got into the big time this month because they released Putney Swope.
Yeah,
which is that's a pretty big title. That's going to bring people that never even heard of Vinegar Syndrome to them.
Well, I've had that film on DVD. Criterion put it out through their Eclipse label on a box set with a bunch of other stuff from him. And I've been and everybody's like, why the hell didn't they put that out like on its own? And like, I guess it was whatever kind of contract they made with Downey Sr. to get them out. And then, they just put that out on Blu-ray. It's like, holy shit. Yeah, but it's like that, or taking Tiger Mountain. Did you get that one?
Yeah.
Have you watched it yet?
Not yet. That's the one with Bill Paxton.
With Bill Paxton's first role? Yeah, that's a really good film. And there's 2 versions of that film on there. And like Night Beast, they put the Don Dohler Night Beast out, which is fucking awesome. That movie.
What does the transfer look like on that thing?
Oh, it looks good.
I started watching. I watched like half.
Can
of
you
it.
actually tell what's going on in that movie in that transfer?
You can. Yeah.
And they do a real good job in making that stuff look actually like good. They clean the shit out of those films.
Yeah, they do. Every Vinegar Syndrome release that I have looks phenomenal.
And that film's a bonkers fucking film. If you've never seen Night Beast, oh my god.
Don Dohler, is that the guy that did Fiend?
I believe so.
That was the first Don Dohler that I watched. That was good.
Yeah,
it looks like it was shot in like the neighborhood that you grew up in. It's like it just captures this suburban housing development.
That's a beautiful thing. They put out Flesh Out on 42nd Street.
Yep, which is a phenomenal transfer.
Which is, if you're going to get into Andy Milligan, it's probably the one you should start with, to be honest.
If not Nightbirds, I think Nightbirds or Fleshpot should be the starting point. Now, Nightbirds is a little more like I had said I think in the first episode, I think I had talked that it is much more along the lines of like the French New Wave.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or at least just the look of it and some of the feel of the characters and the way that it feels mostly improvised.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of has that feel of the French New Wave of like the 50s and stuff like that.
Much more of a porn film. So if you're not used to that, you'll be a little more fucked.
A Fleshpot you're talking?
Yeah. What's his fucking name? Henry Reems is in it and stuff like that.
I don't want to play my hand, but it may be my favorite Andy Milligan movie.
No, shocker. Weird.
So let's stop the episode here and let's get to the portion of the episode where my guests shamelessly shill the fuck out of you, because if we keep talking, I'm gonna end up giving away all my secrets for future episodes on what I think about the rest of the movies we're going to be talking about here on the podcast. So, Evan, is there any parting words you want to say? Because usually you do not have anything to shill on this podcast.
Yeah, same thing. I don't have any. I keep thinking I'm going to come up with some witty remark to end with, but I forgot.
You got to have a tagline. You got to have some.
I know Paula tries to do it too, but I
put her on the spot though. Admittedly, I put her on the spot.
Yeah.
She knows it's coming every fucking week, but I still put her on the spot.
Gotta learn. I gotta learn.
Well, again, as always, thank you for coming on, Evan. I always enjoy having you on. So, Vaughn, shill your ass off, bud.
Okay. My podcast is Motion Picture Massacre. That is motionpicturemassacre.wordpress.com. The last films I recorded on were about everybody's favorite daughter raping whack job, Klaus Kinski, with Nosferatu, the Werner Herzog film, and Nosferatu in Venice, the terrible Italian ripoff sequel. They're good times. You should check them out. Another podcast that I'm affiliated with, like this one this year, Podcast Mania. That's podcastmaniafun.com. The last episode we talked about Fubar, Mighty Python, live at the Hollywood Bowl. What else? We compared and contrasted The Prowler and Hell Night for some strange reason, even though we already done
a hell of a combination of movies.
Well, like the whole Hell Night and Prowler thing was like trying to figure out which one we liked better. So it was like a nice big conversation about that. It was actually fun, even though I'm a much bigger fan of The Prowler than at Hell Night. We've been doing some weird like Mighty Python stuff because Jeff, our main host, he's Canadian and he's an older gentleman. He's never watched Mighty Python before, so we're kind of making him watch Mighty Python and see what he actually likes, which is funny. That just came out. Anything else? No, I'm on this show trying to, burn the flag or the werewolf and the Dracula daughter to get people to watch these fucking movies. Maybe, one day Derrick will figure out that this is actually great art, and that all the smut he's watching really is fucking with his brain. It's me.
Listeners, off air, these two boys are trying to convince me that my other podcast I can't even say it. The podcast at Orgy Castle is completely ruining me for movies. Like, I can no longer be objective about the stuff that I grew up loving, which, I mean, this is the longest running podcast I have for a reason, because for most of my life, I've watched exploitation and horror film. But now all of a sudden, you know, in the last year, I started doing this Smut podcast, and now I no longer can be objective about film. If it doesn't have titties flopping all over the place, I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, ding, ding, definitely. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, you are going to be surprised coming up soon. As I said last episode that we did of the Andy Milligan, that was probably going to be the low point for me of everything. And from here on out, I may be a lot more positive about Andy Milligan.
And also, listeners, if you get this is the halfway point of our discussions on these films.
Yeah, we only have 4 more episodes of Andy Milligan to go, because we're tag teaming all these movies. We're not just doing one every episode. We're doing like 2 or 3 movies an episode.
Yes, and there's 5 more months, so that means we may get this done before the end of the year. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. We'll see if that actually happens. I mean, our schedules are a little crazy every once in a while. Thanks for joining us. I hope to this point, some of you have gone out. Even if I had, you know, I've been really dogging Andy Milligan.
Yeah,
rightfully so. I have been dogging him. I hope you guys have been going out and kind of checking some of these out, because that's kind of the point of these episodes. I am so, like, somebody talking shit about these movies isn't going to deter me from going to see them. I mean, if you're an exploitation fan, I think we've said something positive about just about every one of these movies, even if we've hated them in some capacity. There is
no. We back the truck up. You've hated them in some capacity.
Okay, Mr. Bloodthirsty Butchers.
Hey, what? Okay, one bad fucking note. I'm the one usually sitting there on the top of the milk crate going, "Watch this shit," and you're sitting there going, "Fuck you."
I'm usually like. But folks, if you have been watching along with us and you have a favorite movie of Andy Milligan's and you want to talk about it, let us know, and we'll talk about it on the next show. Get a hold of me at astroradiozpodcast@gmail.com, or go to the All the Gimmicks group, and please just, you know, spout about Andy Milligan and let us know what's your favorite Andy Milligan movie. Where do you rank what we've done so far? If you've been watching along with us, we'd love to hear you talk about Andy Milligan. So next episode that we're going to do in the next coming months, who knows, it'll be whenever it happens, is Nightbirds and Fleshpot on 42nd Street. Hands down, 2 of my favorite movies. So I'm excited to revisit these 2 movies. So folks, thanks for sticking around with us, and we'll catch you next time. You can find Astro Radio Z on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, TuneIn, and anywhere that podcasts are found. Please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and email us questions, concerns, or just general chatter at astroradiozpodcast@gmail.com. You want to hear more than just the regular show? Go over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/allthegimmicks and get not only bonus episodes of Astro Radio Z, but other podcasts like All the Gimmicks and the podcast at Orgy Castle, all for the low price of $1